On August 12, 1981, the IBM PC 5150 was released to the public, setting the PC standard as we know the term today, for better or for worse. The 5150 was a rather simplistic and bland machine compared to computers like the Commodore 64 and Atari 8-bit line. But with the backing of Big Blue and the standardized open hardware platform, the IBM PC standard soon became the de facto choice for businesses and eventually the home. 30 years have passed and countless thousands of games were created for the IBM PC, so to celebrate these 3 decades of PC gaming, I'm going to take a look at my personal top 17 games for the PC. And with this video, we're looking at the 80s, where games with CGA and EGA graphics and PC speaker noise ruled the majority of the decade. So let's get right to it with number 17, Vette. Released in 1989 by Sphere and Spectrum Holobyte, Vette is a racing game that was way ahead of its time. Featuring rudimentary 3D graphics, multiple cars to choose from, a full damage model, and a realistic open-world representation of San Francisco, Vette is almost anachronistic in its experience. It's like a programmer from the future went back in time to create the best possible 3D open-world driving game he could with EGA graphics. Though the gameplay itself gets admittedly pretty stale after the novelty wears off, it's still worth trying out just to experience this early non-linear racer. Number 16, Ikari Warriors. Now here's an SNK classic that got a surprisingly decent port to the PC. Ikari Warriors puts you in the combat boots of 2 Rambo ripoffs, running and gunning around jungle war zones. You're constantly moving up the screen, kind of like a vertical scrolling shoot-'em-up on foot. Making use of guns, grenades, tanks, and power-ups, war has never been so much fun. The controls are a bit stiff, being controlled with the numpad instead of a rotary joystick like the arcade game, but it's still awesome. Number 15, Space Quest, the Sarian Encounter. While I really enjoy the other Sierra AGI adventure games like Police Quest, King's Quest, and Leisure Suit Larry, I'm going to go with Space Quest for this particular list because that's how I'm feeling today. Admittedly, all of these games are very similar in a variety of ways. You play as Roger Wilco, a janitor on the starship Arcada, and you have to stop the evil Sarians from using the devastating star generator weapon. The creative graphics, story, puzzles, humor, and overall atmosphere make this one a must-play and one of the finest adventure games of the 80s. Number 14, Round 42. An early shareware title, Round 42 by Mike Pooler is just rad. It's a spaceship shooter in the vein of games like Space Invaders, Phoenix, and Demon Attack. It is also quite notable in that it uses an obscure mode of CGA, allowing for unique blocky graphics and a high on-screen color count. Not much else to say, it's just simple arcade goodness, and it's always fun for a few minutes at a time, shooting birds and faces and whatever the balls else pops up on screen. Number 13, Mean Streets. The first of the legendary Tex Murphy games, Access Software's Mean Streets is a pretty nice start to this detective mystery adventure game series. You play private investigator Tex Murphy, who in the year 2033 has to solve the murder mystery surrounding the death of a prominent professor. It quickly turns into a much larger affair than you ever bargained for, and things get ugly fast. It also has an intriguing yet somewhat awkwardly executed flight simulation mechanic, which acts as your mode of transportation between large distances. It has its occasional issues, but I think the overall experience is worth it. Number 12, Test Drive 2, The Duel. Unlike the first Test Drive, which was a great idea held back by technical limitations, Test Drive 2 was actually a racing game I could play for more than a few minutes without feeling handicapped. Choose between a Porsche 959 or Ferrari F40 and race, man. Just race. Navigate traffic, road hazards, and hairpin curves, and make sure to stop for fuel in between sections. Combined with the multiple available add-ons giving you new cars and tracks, Test Drive 2 The Duel is just a fantastic racing game of the time period, and I like it a lot. Number 11, Sylpheed. Designed by Game Arts in Japan for the NEC PC8801 microcomputer, Sylpheed was quite impressive for 1987, and it was still great the following year when Sierra ported the game to DOS PCs and localized it for Western audiences. It's a spaceship shooter that doesn't suck, with lots of enemy variations, weapon upgrades, power-ups, boss battles, and a unique visual perspective. And its soundtrack is absolutely stellar, especially if you had a Roland MT32 to play it on. Put simply, I think Sylpheed is the PC's best scrolling shooter of the 80s. Number 10, Sid Meier's Pirates. Before he got hugely popular for creating Railroad Tycoon and Civilization, Sid Meier developed this little gem, released in 1987 on the PC. You assume the role of a swashbuckling swashbuckler in the swashbuckling Caribbean during the days of buckling swashes. Yeah, pirates and stuff. It's in the title, so that's what you get. The goal of the game is to survive as long as possible and then retire with the highest amount of booty you can collect. Am I describing pirates or Leisure Suit Larry? Anyways, this is accomplished by doing awesome pirate stuff, like sinking ships, plundering cities, and capturing key individuals. Not only is it fun, but it's also somewhat educational, as it holds rather true to dates and locations from history. Just a great game with an awesome atmosphere, a lot of variety, and open-ended gameplay. Number 9, The Oregon Trail. While this is mostly known for being on the Apple II, the DOS version of the Oregon Trail is practically the exact same game as the 1985 classic. The Oregon Trail puts you on the trail to Oregon in the 1800s, pitting you against rivers, diseases, heat, bandits, and more. And each time you play, it's completely different, so the replay value is quite high. Number 8, Battle Chess. Interplay's Battle Chess is just such a cool game. I mean, seriously, cool is one of the only fitting adjectives to describe this. When I first saw this back when I was a kid, I was absolutely hooked. It took chess and added fantastically drawn graphics, amazing sound effects, and wholesome cartoon violence. It's just chess, but when one piece takes another, they fight to the death, and it's very different for each piece combination. I'd play this game for hours just to see the different ways each piece died at the hand of another. And it's freaking chess. Chess never gets old if you enjoy chess, and I do, so this is pure win. Number 7, Digger. Digger is a PC booter game from 1983 by Windmill Software, which plays like a mixture of the classic games Dig Dug and Mr. Do. It's a single-screen arcade game where you control the Digger and dig around the map, collect gems, and avoid enemies. You also have the option to shoot them or set up a trap by crushing them with bags of gold. It's just classic arcade goodness, and if you're a fan of Mr. Do especially, you've got to try this one out. Number 6, Flight Simulator 4.0. I love flight sims. There's something about piloting a plane that just makes a man feel free and alive and without worry. And as a kid with no pilot's license, back in the day, Flight Simulator 4.0 was where it was at. This was probably my first 3D game, and it was amazing being able to choose from the massive variety of airports and aircraft and just fly the hours away. Not only that, but it had a built-in plane editor, where you could experiment with creating and editing your own plane in the most screwed-up ways you can think of, then take it to the runway and see if it flies. Most of the time it didn't, which was great. Then if that got boring, there were lots of extra expansion packs to expand your game even further. I just love this version of Flight Simulator, and to this day I still prefer it to some of the later versions. Number 5, Tetris. Do I really have to describe this one? That is a rhetorical question. Of course I'm going to. Alexei Pajitnov's Tetris is one of the best games ever made for a variety of reasons. It's inspired by an old Russian game called Pentaminos and is simple in concept and easy to learn, but it takes ages to master all the strategies involved. Falling, rotating block patterns will take over your brain if you allow them to, and with Tetris you'll be just fine with it. This version by Spectrum Holobyte is the original commercially licensed version of the game. The control layout is a bit weird to me, but if you play it in DOSBox you can just remap it. Number 4, Lode Runner. Designed by Douglas E. Smith, Lode Runner is another single-screen arcade game that is absolutely flawless in execution. Originally designed on the Apple II, this PC port is fantastic and contains everything that made the game great. It's a platform game where the goal is to collect all of the gold in each level and not get murdered by the roaming guards. It's one of those games that no matter how simple a map may look, it can actually take hours to figure out each exact step to succeed. And it comes with a legendarily awesome level editor, so there's still more to do even if you finish the ridiculous 150 included levels. Number 3, Arkanoid. While this is essentially a clone of Atari's Breakout, Arkanoid takes the Pong flipped on its side formula and makes it, well, fun. There's a weird backstory about spaceships and bizarre cosmic entities, but it doesn't matter. You control the paddle at the bottom of the screen and try to clear all the blocks without losing your balls. But you've also got things floating around, power-ups, great graphics and music, and creative level designs to spice things up. And in Arkanoid, things do get spicy, I can assure you. This PC version in particular is surprisingly good, being ported by Novalogic, later known for their amazing military combat simulations. It can be controlled with a keyboard, joystick, or mouse, and surprisingly it's quite playable on each of those, due to the way it adjusts the paddle movement for each method. Number 2, SimCity. Released by Maxis in 1989, SimCity practically single-handedly launched the software toy/sandbox game. You have no goals, no way to win or lose, just a bunch of tools to play with and a world to manipulate. In SimCity, you simulate a city of Sims. A Sim City, who follow a bunch of assumptions about transportation, taxes, zoning, employment, power consumption, etc. It's up to you to design a city how you see fit and meet your own goals. Of course, your goal might be to destroy it with earthquakes and Godzilla monsters, and you can do that. And if you want a goal given to you, you can have it, with the built-in scenarios based on real-world cities and events. An undeniable classic in every sense of the word, but somehow, even though it's very close, it's not my number one PC game of the 80s. That would be number 1, Paratrooper. The thing about SimCity is that you have to be in the right mindset to play it. With Paratrooper, you're always in the right mindset because Paratrooper is very straightforward. It's stupidly simple arcade shooting, but oh man does it get intense in bursts that are friggin' heart attack inducing. You control the phallic weapon in the bottom middle of the screen, shooting at helicopters and paratroopers. The goal is to get the most points, but each shot takes away a point, so you want to control your shots. But you can't let more than 4 paratroopers hit the ground on either side of you, or they will set a bomb underneath your weapon and you're dead. You also have these stupid friggin' jets, which are sometimes harmless, but sometimes amazingly deadly, dropping bombs with pinpoint accuracy that aren't always easy to shoot. It just keeps going and going until you die, and you will die, and then you have to play again because you know you can get a higher score this time. It is kind of odd that my favorite game on this list is also the oldest one, being from 1982, but I can't help but love it, because it's simply amazing, yet amazingly simple. And that's all for the best PC games of the 80s in my opinion. Be sure and check out the top 17 best PC games of the 90s and 2000s, right here on Lazy Game Reviews.